Okay. So your second lesson would involve the thrombocytes or the platelets class. So you already have an idea on the blood vessels and the primary hemostasis. Let's now tackle the second part of your primary hemostasis, which are your platelets. Now, platelets class are also known as your thrombocytes, are usually an element of blood. Now, they are small, they are colorless, and they are non-nucleated bodies. These form elements of blood are considered to be the fragments of cytoplasm. If naalala nyo pa in your hematology 1, your platelets would come from the breakdown of the cytoplasm of your megakaryocyte. So sa megakaryocyte nyo class, yung cytoplasm niya would be broken down or would be fragmented, forming the platelets. Now, the size of platelets class is 2.5 micra or 2 to 4 micra. Now, the shape of your platelets would be spherical or rod shape, oval or disc shape, dumbbell shape, comma shape, and cigar shape. So iba-iba ang they have varying shapes class. Pwedeng spherical, pwedeng oval, pwedeng dumbbell, comma, or even cigar shape. Now, the platelet is constituted by a cell membrane or a surface membrane, a microtubule, and a cytoplasm. So, the platelet nucleus is made up of three parts: cell membrane or surface membrane, microtubules, and its cytoplasm. So, this is the platelet structure class. So, the second layer here, itong red na to, this is the microtubules. Inside the microtubules, you would find the cytoplasm. So cytoplasm, they have varying contents. You would find the dense tubule, the surface connecting tubule, coat, rather glycogen, mitochondria, alpha granules, and dense granules. So remember, class, in your platelets, they would also contain granules, specifically the alpha and the dense granules. Now, the cell membrane of platelets class is 6 nanometer thick. Extensive invagination of cell membrane would form an open canalicular system. Itong canalicular system yun na to class is a tunnel system through which the platelet granules would extrude their content. So the reason why yung cell membrane nyo class has invagination, yung parang mga layers na pwedeng daanan or yung mga tunnel, is this allows the platelet granules to release their contents. Because of those passageways or yung mga tunnel system na yan, mas naaalaw na maka-pass through yung mga substances being released by the alpha and dense granules. Now, the cell membrane of platelet would contain lipids class in the form of phospholipids, cholesterol and glycolipids, carbohydrates as the glycocalyx, and glycoproteins and proteins. Now, of these substances class, glycoprotein and phospholipids class are functionally important. The reason why they are functionally important class is aside from their function, another thing you have to consider is that it is responsible also for maintaining the shape or the structure of the platelet. So yung glycoprotein na yan and phospholipids maintains the shape and the structure of the platelet. Now, glycoproteins class, take note, in a function, prevents the adherence of platelets to normal endothelium, but accelerate the adherence of platelets to collagen and damage endothelium in ruptured blood vessels. So, kanina, di ba, in-explain ko yung difference ng, earlier it was explained, the difference between an intact and a damaged blood vessel. Now, si glycoproteins nyo class, if the blood vessel is intact or not damaged, it prevents the adherence of platelets to normal endothelium. But it would accelerate the adherence of platelets to collagen and damage endothelium in ruptured blood vessels. So ulitin ko, si glycoprotein prevents adherence kapag normal yung blood vessel. Pero kapag damage yung blood vessel nyo, it accelerates adherence. While si phospholipids nyo naman class accelerates the clotting reaction. The phospholipids forms the precursor of thromboxane A2 and other prostaglandin-related substances. Now, the microtubules would form a ring around the cytoplasm below the cell membrane. So, di ba kanina ito yung platelet nyo? Merong middle layer dyan. Yung middle layer na yan, class, ito. This is your microtubules. They would surround the cytoplasm. Now, si microtubules are made up of polymerized proteins known as tubulin. Tubulin would also provide structural support, maintaining the shape of the plate. Then the cytoplasm of platelets would contain cellular organelles, the Golgi apparatus, the endoplasmic reticulum, the mitochondria, the microtubule, microvessels, filaments, and granules. Cytoplasm would also contain chemical substances class such as the protein, the enzyme, and the hormonal substances. Now let's talk about the different proteins found in the cytoplasm class. Meron tayong tinatawag na contractile protein. Now there are two types of contractile protein, your actin and myosin, which is responsible for the contraction of platelet, and your thrombostenin, which is responsible for clot retraction. Then we also have your von Willebrand factor, responsible for the adherence of platelets. Then we have your fibrin stabilizing factor, which is a clotting factor. Platelet-derived growth factor, or PDGF, responsible for wound healing. Then we also have your platelet activating factor, or your PAF, causes aggregation of platelets during injury. Vitronectin, which is also known as your serum spreading factor, which would promote adhesion of platelets. Thrombospondin, which would inhibit angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels from pre-existing vessels. So, thrombopostin class inhibits angiogenesis. Pine-prevent niya yung pag-create ng bagong blood vessel. Then the enzymes would include adenosine triphosphatase, enzymes necessary for synthesis of prostaglandin. Then hormonal substances secreted are adrenaline, 5-hydroxytryptamine, and serotonin, and histamine. Then the platelet granules class. So, di ba dalawa yung platelet granules, the alpha and the dense granules. Now, these granules class are known to secrete different substances. Si alpha granules are known to secrete clotting factors, specifically fibrinogen, factor 5, and factor 13. It is also known to secrete or to produce or present platelet-derived growth factor, vascular endothelial growth factor, basic fibroblast growth factor, endostatin, and thrombospondin. While the dense granules are known to produce nucleotides, serotonin, phospholipid, calcium, and lysosomes. Now let's take a look at the properties of platelets. Now remember that your platelets has three important properties, yung tatlong A's: adhesiveness, aggregation, and agglutination. So they have three properties, the three A's: adhesiveness, aggregation, and agglutination. Now, adhesiveness class is the property of sticking to a rough surface. So, yung mga platelets nyo, they are able to attach to surface class, specifically damaged endothelium. While coming in contact with collagen, platelets are activated and would adhere to collagen. So kapag nagkaroon ka ng blood vessel injury class, 'di ba sabi ko kanina sa steps ng the first thing that would happen would be vasoconstriction. After vasoconstriction, the platelets would adhere to the surface. Pag sinabi mong surface, ang specific na tinutukoy niyan is the collagen. So the platelets would adhere to collagen, and from there it would continue to aggregation and so on. Other factors which accelerate adhesiveness class are collagen, thrombin, ADP, thromboxane A2, calcium ions, P-selectin, and vitronectin. Then after adhesiveness, another property is aggregation. So the platelets would aggregate together, class, or would join together. During activation, the platelets change their shape with elongation of long filamentous pseudopodia, which are processes of philopedia. Philopedia help the platelets aggregate together. Activation and aggregation of platelets is accelerated. So, di ba nag-adhere na, para mas maintindihan nyo ko sa, nag-adhere na siya sa collagen. Now, after adhering to the collagen, it would cause your platelets to become activated. Ma-activate siya, causing a change in their shape. Magbabago yung shape ng platelets nyo, class, forming a so-called elongation of long filamentous pseudopodia. So, magmumukha siyang may mga pseudopods, class, which are known as your philopedia. Itong philopedia na to allows your platelets, helps your platelets aggregate together. So ulitin ko klasa, yung platelets nyo, once they adhere to the collagen, they become activated. Now, when your platelets are activated, they would have a change in their shape. Magpapalit yung shape nila, forming pseudopods, which are now known as your philopodia. Si philopodia nyo allows your platelets to aggregate together. So mag-attach yung mga platelets dyan sa mga pseudopods. Now, this is accelerated by ADP, thromboxane A2, and platelet activating factor. Then the third property of your platelets is agglutination, which is the clumping together of platelets. Aggregated platelets are agglutinated by the action of platelet agglutinins and platelet activating factor. So ito para mas maintindihan nyo, class. So from adhesion, they would adhere to the collagen, and then after adhering, they would become activated. They would form your philopods, wherein they would now start aggregating. And then from aggregation, papasok na si secondary hemostasis nyo, class, forming that fibrin clot. Now, the functions of platelet would include blood clotting, clot retraction, hemostasis, repair of ruptured blood vessel, and the defense system. Activators of platelet would include collagen, von Willebrand factor, thromboxane A2, platelet activating factor, thrombin, ADP, calcium ions, P-selectin, and convulsine. Inhibitors of platelets would include nitric oxide, clotting factors 2, 9, 10, 11, and 12, prostacyclin, and nucleotidases. Now, let's talk about the development of platelets, class, yung thrombopoiesis. So, remember yung hematopoiesis nyo. Under hematopoiesis would be the different developments of cells. One cell line, class, is the platelets, also known as your thrombopoiesis. Now, the platelets, class, take note, are produced in the bone marrow. The pluripotent stem cell destined to form platelets is converted into colony-forming unit called your MEG-CFU, megakaryocyte colony forming unit, or the MEG-CFU class, which develops into platelets after converting into megakaryocyte. So yung, if naalala nyo pa, class, kung ito yung pluripotent stem cell nyo, si pluripotent stem cell nyo, one cell line, would become a MEG-CFU. Yung MEG-CFU na yan would further develop into a megakaryoblast, promegakaryocyte, and megakaryocyte, and so on. Now, let's talk about the formation of platelets. So, stages in platelet production, usually 10 days, class. 10 araw para ma-develop. It takes 10 days to develop new platelets, and it has to pass through 3 stages. A megakaryoblast, a promegakaryocyte, then a megakaryocyte. Lahat yan, class, they would occur in the bone marrow. Let's start with the first stage, yung megakaryoblast nyo. Now, the megakaryoblast is the earliest recognizable cell. Differentiate to form, so CFU meg would differentiate to form megakaryoblast. Si megakaryoblast has a diameter of 20 to 30 millimeter. Cytoplasm is small, blue, and non-granular. The nucleus is large, oval, or kidney shape. Then we have your promegakaryocyte. So megakaryoblast would further replicate. There would be replication of the nuclear chromatin. Nuclear chromatin replicates in a multiple of 2, forming a large cell with 32 times the diploid content of nuclear DNA form. Now, si megakaryocyte, please take note class, ang cytoplasm niya is heavily granular. So, napaka-granular ng cytoplasm niya class. Then after the promegakaryocyte, it now develops to a megakaryocyte. Now, megakaryocyte is a very large cell with 30 to 90 millimeter in diameter. Nucleus is single multi-loaded. Cytoplasm abundant with red-purple granules. Cell margin is irregular with many pseudopodia, which gets detached into blood and forms platelet. One megakaryocyte class is known to produce up to 4,000 platelets. Now, the normal platelet count class is 20 is 250,000 cubic mm. So, pag sinulat mo yung cubic mm na yan, class, yan. It ranges between 200 and 400,000 cubic mm of blood. Now, the lifespan of platelets varies from 8 to 12 days with an average of 10 days. Platelets are destroyed by the macrophage system in the spleen. Platelet disorders thus would occur because of pathological variation in platelet count and dysfunction of platelets. Platelet disorders would include thrombocytopenia, thrombocytosis, thrombocythemia, Glanzmann's thrombocythemia. Stages of hemostasis. So, involve ang platelets nyo class in vasoconstriction, platelet plug formation, and coagulation of blood. Then this is the process on how your platelets responds in cases of injury to blood vessel. Exposure of collagen leading to the attachment to the collagen. So, exposure of collagen, mag-a-attach yung platelets nyo sa collagen along with von Willebrand factor. It would now lead to the activation of platelets, causing the production of different substances. Secretion of serotonin would lead to vasoconstriction, secretion of ADP and thromboxane A2, platelet activating factor, aggregation of platelets, formation of platelet plug, then formation of prothrombin activator leading to blood clotting. So that basically ends the first part of your lesson 2.